Welcome to GCSE English Unlocked with me, Mrs. Dixon, your guide to mastering AQA English literature and language. Each episode is designed to help you revise with confidence, consolidate key skills and unlock the secrets behind top grade answers. Whether you're tackling Shakespeare, analysing unseen poetry or perfecting your persuasive writing, this podcast will break everything down clearly, so you can walk into your exams feeling calm, prepared and in control. So grab your notes, settle in and let's start unlocking your English potential. Hello and welcome back to the next 10-minute revision blaster. I'm Mrs. Dixon and today we're looking at one of the most haunting and emotionally complex poems in the AQA Love and Relationships anthology. This is The Farmer's Bride by Charlotte Mew. If you think this is just about a grumpy old farmer and his shy wife, there is far more to it than that. In the poem we'll be covering the title, the first line, key imagery, structure, context, the final line, and finally, which poems in the AQA anthology this one compares best with. Let's get started. Here's the poem in full, The Farmer's Bride by Charlotte Mew. 3 summers since I chose a maid, too young may be, but more's to do. At harvest time then bide and woo. When us was wed, she turned afraid of love and me and all things human, like the shut of a winter's day. Her smile went out, and 'twasn't a woman, more like a frightened fay. One night in the fall she runned away. Out 'mong the sheep her be, they said, should probably have been abed. But sure enough she wasn't there, lying awake with her wide brown stare. So over 7-acre field and up along across the down we chased her, flying like a hare, before our lanterns. To church town, all in a shiver and a scare, we caught her, fetched her home at last, and turned the key upon her fast. She does the work about the house as well as most, but like a mouse, happy enough to chat and play with birds and rabbits and such as they, so long as menfolk keep away. Not near, her eyes beseech, when one of us comes within reach. The women say that beasts in stall look round like children at her call. I've hardly heard her speak at all. Shy as a leveret, swift as he, straight and slight as a young larch tree. Sweet as the first wild violet she, to her wild self. But what's to me? The short days shorten and the oaks are brown, the blue smoke rises to the low grey sky. One leaf in the still air falls slowly down, a magpie spotted feathers lie. On the black earth spreads white with rime, the berries redden up to Christmas time. What's Christmas time without there be some other in the house than we? She sleeps up in the attic there, alone poor maid, 'tis but a stair betwixt us. Oh my God, the down, the soft young down of her, the brown of her eyes, her hair. So that's the poem. Quite a long one, but it's actually quite a straightforward one and really, really nice to write about. So let's start with our title as always, The Farmer's Bride. The title immediately tells us here that there's a power imbalance, okay? So she is the farmer's bride, she is his bride. She is defined by possession rather than partnership. We don't even get her name, and she doesn't even get a name throughout the poem. If you ever done Lords of the Flies in Year 9, or you're doing Lords of the Flies for GCSE, it's the same as Piggy. Piggy never gets a name. He isn't important enough to the other characters, and neither is the farmer's bride. She is just the farmer's bride. She's only known, and this is really interesting, through the farmer's perspective. And this reflects one of the poem's key themes: male control versus female fear and silence. So there's certainly a gender imbalance in here, and gender is one of the key themes that comes up in the poem. So actually there's loads to say about the title. On the surface it seems quite a romantic pastoral title, The Farmer's Bride, but once we look at it in the context of the poem, there's a bit more to it than that. First line, 3 summers since I chose a maid. Again, so much to say about this, just one line. This sets the tone, and the operative word here is chose. That verb chose, he chose her, not the other way around. She didn't choose him, he was chosen by her. And there isn't any romance here, okay? This is a practical arrangement. And arrangements like this were far more common. Right away from this first line, we see that this marriage was more about duty. It was more about ownership. It was more about convenience than emotional connection. And as we learn more about the farmer, we learn that this was actually quite a difficult thing for him to do. He doesn't necessarily come across as a malicious or greedy character, but it just doesn't seem to cross his mind that an emotional connection is necessary. And while marriages like this were more common at the time Charlotte Mew was writing, there's still something quite bleak in the sense that The farmer has just decided that it's time, that he wants a wifey in the house to do lots of jobs for him probably, and make his dinner when he gets him from the fields. Although, to be fair to the farmer, as the poem goes on, we do see him feeling quite lonely, and we see a desire for this connection. So let's talk about imagery. Muse imagery is vivid, it's rural, there's lots and lots of nature imagery, lots of animalistic imagery. And the wife, throughout the poem, there's an ongoing theme of the wife being compared to creatures, to frightened creatures in particular, to prey. The similes, like a mouse, like a hare. She's shy as a leveret. So a leveret is a young hare, a hare that's less than 1 year old. So again, these days it's rare to see a hare. We don't often see them. It's quite special to see one. So again, she's seen as this skittish, rare, young, new to the world, innocent, naive little creature. She's more like prey than a wife. Okay, that's kind of one of the key things to keep in mind. And nature also mirrors emotions throughout. I mean, if I had £1 for every time I said the word nature when talking about this anthology, I'd be really rich, because nature, it comes up all the time. But that's because it's everywhere, it's prevalent, and it makes for wonderful imagery. The winter's day when her smile went out symbolises emotional coldness. So like the seasons, on that winter's day her smile is gone, her innocence is gone, her hope perhaps. The chill and frost at the end mirror the loneliness of both characters. So we might feel a little bit of sympathy for the farmer here as well. He seems a bit hapless, a bit hopeless. He doesn't know how to talk to women, he doesn't know how to be with women. But he's a human being, he longs for that desire as well, and he has not gone about choosing his partner. I mean, there's just so much you could say. Out among the sheep her be, and we've got this really lovely simile, it's actually one of my favourite lines. The women say that beasts in stall look round like children at her call. So she kind of has this profound connection with animals, a profound connection with nature. And it's not clear whether this is just the way she is, and she doesn't connect with other humans, and she's an animal person, a nature person, or whether it's this fear of the farmer and fear of intimacy and fear of older men. I imagine he's possibly older than her, that she has turned to, cows are very gentle, passive animals to kind of hide and stay away from society. Remember, she's been driven away. It says, like a hare she flew. One night she runned away out among the sheep. We caught her, fetched her home at last, and turned the key upon her fast. Yeah, so loads and loads. I mean, I could go on for ages about the nature imagery. And their relationship kind of follows the patterns of the seasons. At Christmas time, the berries redden up, but she's more distant than ever towards the farmer. He's longing for children, for family, but she can't give him that. Let's have a look at structure and form. So this poem, you can say that it's a dramatic monologue, and it's told entirely from the farmer's point of view. We don't hear from the wife. It's mostly in rhyming couplets and uneven rhythm, which echoes a folk style of speech. The rhyme gives it a sing-song quality, maybe like a folk song. There's something pastoral, something rural about this poem. But that contrast makes the story even more unsettling, like there's something dark hiding beneath something simple. There's something very childlike about the farmer's bride, I would say. Like I said, she's compared to a young leveret. She's innocent, she's young, she's naive. And this song-like structure does give it a bit of an eerie feeling. Notice how the tone shifts as well. The first half tells the story quite casually, and then the final stanza, it explodes with repressed longing and frustration. So towards the end, we really see the almost tangible longing and desire of the man to be close to her. And it's ambiguous, that means it's uncertain as to how he wants that to happen. Cynical people view the end as quite disturbing, that the man might want to possibly force himself on his wife or assault her. We don't know that for sure, but there certainly is a frustration and a desire to be close to her. He says, "Oh my God, the soft young down of her, it feels almost desperate, and it breaks that calm structure." This is his emotional loss of control. Context. So Charlotte Muse, she wrote in the early 20th century, a time when women had very limited rights, especially within marriage, and it explores the consequence of power dynamics. A man's social and sexual authority contrasted with a woman's fear and lack of voice. And the lack of voice speaks for itself here. She doesn't need to say this because the farmer does all the speaking. So Mew was a really, really interesting woman. She never married, and her life was quite lonely and isolated. It's thought she may have been a lesbian, that she may have been gay. She dressed in men's clothes. She was androgynous. And really she was isolated, possibly repressed. And the farmer's wife, I guess, represents that as well. A woman trapped in a world where love is replaced by expectation, by misunderstanding. Now, the last line is often the key you need to unlock the poem. Poets think really carefully about the last line of their poem. So the last line here, and we have touched on it, is the brown of her, her eyes, her hair, her hair. So the repetition and the punctuation in this final line, so if you actually look at a copy of the poem, we've got the brown of her hyphen, her eyes, comma, her hair, exclamation mark. This is a sudden outburst after a poem of restraint. The farmer's longing is physical, but it's also frustrated. There's a barrier between them. 'Tis but a stare between us. So he's so close to her, there's just a stare there. But the stare makes the emotional distance feel even greater. So close physically, yet emotionally separate. So again, there's desire here without understanding. Again, it's possible to read this in a sort of darker fashion, that perhaps he had ill intentions towards the woman and he might go to her without her consent. But we might also see this as an expression of deep, deep loneliness, frustration. Like I said, he doesn't know how to talk to women. Right, I'm really aware of the time because I'm rambling on. I'm going to run over the 10 minutes ever so slightly, just because I want to tell you about the comparisons. So, The Farmer's Bride compares especially well with poems about power, distance and control. So, Porphyria's Lover is an obvious choice. These go together really well. That's the one with the guy whose lover he strangles with her own hair. They're both dramatic monologues as well, about male possessiveness and control, with disturbing intensity. Sonnet 29, I Think of Thee. This contrasts so nicely, because I Think of Thee is a woman having a voice. It's a woman with desire. She uses nature imagery, but the nature represents her longing. And this is mutual love, not fear. This is enjoyment of a physical relationship. When We Two Parted, this shows longing and loss, but Byron's pain is from rejection, while Muse is from emotional distance and guilt. So yeah, When We Two Parted, there's loads of frustration. He's clearly not over the relationship. It is about, again, there's no female voice there, it's about his feelings. So to sum up, Charlotte Mew, The Farmer's Bride, it's a chilling exploration of love without freedom. Lots of rural imagery, animal comparisons, and the farmer's powerful, to be honest, sometimes sympathetic, but also blinkered voice. We almost want to scream at him, give him advice, say, "What are you doing?" Mew exposes emotional damage caused by imbalance and control in relationships and marriages that are rushed into without thought or connection. That's all for this 10 minutes. Sorry, this was more like a 12-minute revision blaster. Next time we're going to look at Porphyria's Lover and see how Browning develops similar themes of passion and power, but with an even darker twist. Until then, happy revising, and remember, not all love stories are romantic ones. Now, as always, keep revising, keep working, and keep unlocking those secrets of GCSE English.